as always, again, word's going to be used a lot today. Thanks for joining us here at Dead Ringers for our 13th episode of Cringeworthy Calls. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So talk about some things that we're thankful for today. And as always, we record this. So if you happen to miss it, you'll have it out there on our website at deadringers.co. But we'll get started here with our thankworthy calls. And before we get started, I have my Navy shirt on today because today is Veterans Day. And as I'm sure many of you are, we are very thankful to our veterans and the sacrifices and their willingness and duty in serving our country. So this 12-year-old, he looks so young. This is in the early 90s. This is my husband, Chris Wiedemann, and he was in the Navy Seabees, and that stands for the Construction Battalion. And their motto is, we build, we fight, and can do. So this is Chris Wiedemann, and I don't believe they allow people in that young. Do they? 12? Just kidding. But I always find this to be a meaningful picture to me. He's going to hate me for sharing this, but we are broadcasting today on Veterans Day. So again, thank you to our veterans. On that theme of thankfulness, we are moving into U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving, one of my favorite times of year, and getting together with family, and my favorite meal of all time, mashed potato stuffing and turkey. So as we get started, our goal is to train at Dead Ringers on excellent phone skills, creating customer service experiences in those calls that we make. And we find that training is very important. And if there's a phone on your desk, within your office, you should be training everyone to use it. And now more than ever, we're also using our smartphones, right? So even those skills that you use on a cell phone, if that's a part of your business, need to be just as sharp. So this is from my idol, Nancy Friedman, the main quote, and I added the little bit in on the technology there. So I'm thankful for her. She's a great resource. So talk a little bit about last month, our Fright Fest, and tying in with Halloween. We're really digging into these seasonal themes, aren't we? But we talked about people not believing or really providing scary answers to things about what they offer. We talked about pricing discussions, and I think one of our discussions was, well, that's my overhead. That's why I charge more prices. We had the one individual that provided an answer literally using the word Dracula in describing his facility. So we felt that that was an appropriate thing to add in one of our cringeworthy calls, but you have to believe in what you're offering. So that was a key part of showing that lack of belief in the calls there. There was some definitely passive aggressive calls that we shared last week, and really such a lack of empathy and a little bit of soullessness, as we mentioned in our last live webinar. So avoid being passive aggressive. And those, I think passive aggressive when you're on the phone has a lot to do with the sound of your voice too, almost being sarcastic. So we have to be really careful in how we deal with clients and not be passive aggressive. And then understanding who your audience is. And I really mention this to our death care professionals out there, and that not providing empathy, reading the room and understanding someone may be going through a loss. And we're hearing that over and over again in all of the calls we've placed, close to 6,000 now, that there's this lack of empathy happening. And also not just even necessarily death care, but in other professions as well. I literally, prior to our time here together today, called my doctor's office regarding a prescription, and she made me feel almost guilty that I was calling. And I gave her my name, I gave her the reason for calling, and then she made me repeat all of that again, asked me my name again. And so again, those kinds of things create a frightful experience. And so now I'm a little concerned about where my prescription is going and if I'm going to be able to get it. So it's caused a frightful situation for me. I always like to use real world examples there. So she did scare me off a little bit. And again, in the tone that we use, it's so important to listen. Get started with our cringeworthy calls, or not cringeworthy, thankworthy. I programmed, aren't I?
You won't have to do much training with me. We have the same phone system at my last job. All I need is the list of extensions and I'm set. My boyfriend says that this is the perfect job for me because I like to talk on the phone more than anybody he knows. I see. Here, why don't you... Good morning, Christine Phelps' office. This is Grace Johnson. How may I help you? Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Phelps is in a meeting right now. Would you like me to transfer you to her voicemail or may I take a message? Certainly. May I get your name? Would you spell that for me, please? And your company name? And a phone number where you can be reached? And what message may I pass on? Okay, let me make sure I have this correctly. It's Gary Bertolli of Bertolli & Sons, and that's spelled Bertolli. And you would like to reschedule your meeting on Tuesday the 21st, and your phone number is 413-555-9962. Thanks, Mr. Bertolli. I'll make sure that Ms. Phelps gets this message as soon as she comes out of her meeting. Thanks again for calling. Bye.
I know that's one of those fun training videos, but she did a really nice job. And so we're thankful that this kind of content is out there in the World Wide Web. I really like the detail that she followed and thanking the customer at the end, how important it is to be thankful for folks who are calling. Now, in this particular example, she's simply taking a message, but all of the items shared in this particular video go just as importantly in just a basic conversation, even if you're not taking a message. The names, the importance of spellings of those names, getting phone numbers, the reason they're calling, and thanking the customer. Now, along with this video, we see the young gal that really likes to talk, right? She knows how to use the equipment, but she didn't know how to answer the phone. So it was kind of comical. All of the things that her colleague did in answering the phone, she didn't get any of that. And so when she passed a message along to someone else, he didn't have anything to go on with the call. So I found this to be really helpful. And I like the checklist as that went along with this particular video too. So with those thankworthy calls, we have our own statistics, what we're hearing in all of the calls that we recorded and all of the data that we collect in our dashboard, how thankworthy we are when our clients call in. Surprisingly, only 41% of professionals that answer the phone thank the caller for calling the business. And again, even though she was taking in our message in what we just heard, she thanked them for calling. So thank you can go a long way. 50% of callers would call again in the future based on their call experience. So again, being thankful for those calling in, if you show your appreciation, again, that good experience, people are willing to call in the future. This is literally a question that we ask as a part of our objective grading of the call. The folks that do our secret shopping, we ask them, would you call this business again based on your own experience? And only half of the time are we getting, yes, I would call this business back. So keeping in mind, these are our statistics, how important it is to create that good experience, and being thankful is a lot of that. We also know that, I want you to know that we're thankful when conversations happen. So we found that good conversations happen. We are thankful when those happen, when professionals use open-ended questions. We've talked about that in past webinars as well. And our statistics tell us when open-ended questions are used in the secret shops that we do, our scoring system, which is 100, or 1 to 100, 0 to 100, sorry, will score 14% higher when a conversation happens. So those are things that we're thankful for. Now, I love David Letterman and I miss his show, and he always had a top 10 list. So this is our top 10 list today. But we often get, well, thank you for calling. Thank you. You have any other questions, all those types of things that we're used to hearing as consumers when we call into a business. But I think it's important for us to think of creative ways and memorable ways that we can thank clients at the end of those calls, the closing of the calls, that may create a memorable experience once the phone is hung up. So kind of got just some creative ways that you might consider ending a call or thanking your customers as they do business with you. These are in no order of best to better, all good, better, best, all of that. It's just top 10, just a 10 list. Okay. So thank you for your trust and confidence in us. It means so much for us to serve you. And I think this is really important for those in the death care profession, and that you do take pride in how you serve your family. So trust and confidence is so important. So thanking folks in this manner takes it just above and beyond the simple thank you. Thank you for your support. We truly appreciate your business and look forward to serving you again. We know the world is full of choices. Thank you for choosing us. I like that one. That one's sharp. Thank you for your valued business. We value your trust and confidence in us and sincerely appreciate you. Now, this is when something maybe goes wrong or a client has an issue with something. And again, taking ownership of those issues if you're answering the phone is really important. Now more than ever, we're having those service gaps because of whether it's lack of employee support or resources. Supply chain is huge right now. So again, it's not always a pleasant experience when someone has to call into a business, but you can make it pleasant in how you address the folks and thank folks for their patience. So thank you for contacting us today. It isn't pleasant to have an issue like yours, and I appreciate your patience as we worked through it. So kind of that team effort there. We take pride in your business with us. Thank you. Thank you for putting your trust and confidence in our company. We won't settle for less than the best for you. We are grateful for your business and your feedback. Please call me directly in the future if you have suggestions on how we might serve you better. Wow. Not only are you saying that you're thankful or you're grateful, but asking for feedback is so important and that you value it. In these times, we know that customer service levels can suffer. We appreciate your patience. Thank you for your continued business with us. And our last, I would personally like to thank you. It is always a pleasure to do business with someone like you. So take it or leave it with these. I just find that there's maybe a little more of a creative way to say thank you and show your appreciation to clients. Being thankful. So here's our call countdown. And it's really a pleasure for us to share something that isn't a cringeworthy call. I know that we can, it's kind of, we don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but we find that it's so important for people to hear what we're hearing in all of the secret shops that we do. So we did a little digging and we were able to find some calls that we are really thankful for. Okay, so get started here. This is an example.
Thanks for calling Ting. This is Isabel speaking. How can I help you? Hello, this is Isabel speaking. For service in English, press 1. Para el servicio en español, presione 2. To talk about phones, press 1. To talk about something else, press 2. Please hold while we direct your call to the first available agent. Your time is important to us. Thank you for your patience. Ba, ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba-da, ba, ba-da, 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 ba, ba-da, ba, ba-da, ba-da, ba. Thanks for calling Ting. This is Isabel speaking. How can I help you?
Oh, wow. That's quick.
a live person, and also the creativity. We are very thankful for the creativity this little video shared that shared with us. So it's important to be yourself. And I know that I've heard some calls and also placed some calls where folks, it sounds like they're afraid to make you angry or they're using a very flat tone. Just be yourself. We're thankful when folks embrace their personality. And then, as I had mentioned, consumers are thankful when they reach a live person, and we've we've been programmed now to know that there's some kind of menu. And we are not thankful when a menu option has changed. I don't care. I got that today when I called my doctor's office. So I don't, whatever. Am I so programmed to know what your menu is? Sorry, that was an aside. And we're thankful to know that there is good service out there. So I'm not familiar with the Ting company necessarily and what they provide, but I'm thankful that they think that it's important to have good service. So next in our I've almost programmed myself with this cringeworthy call. Sorry. Thank you for empathy. And my death care professional friends out there, it's so important that we think about that. We've become, I think, somewhat desensitized as we get call after call after call, and that we lose that empathetic touch. So in this next example, we're very thankful for the empathy shown.
Can you tell me how much it would cost to do a cremation?
Yes, of course. May I ask, has the death occurred?
Not yet.
Okay. May I ask to whom I am speaking?
My name is Abby.
Abby. Abby, who are the arrangements going to be for?
My father.
Your father. I am so sorry that he is not doing well. Abby, may I place you on just a brief hold?
Yes.
Abby, just in case I get disconnected, may I get the best phone number to reach you at?
I play this call a lot as I wrap up my training with our funeral professional and cemetery cremation death care professional clients to show not only technique here, but her true concern and her show of empathy to Abby in this particular call. So we're very thankful. We use this example all of the time. The fact that we know that it's calling in, I am so thankful for. So recognizing that a loss or an issue is concerned. I'm sorry to hear that your father's not doing well. Gosh, I'm sorry to hear that your cable's not working. Let's get together and work on this and provide a solution. So recognizing that there's an issue. Again, thanks for using those names, asking for names. Mr. Bartoli, our little video at the very beginning, and the correct spelling of that name. So we're thankful when a name is asked for. And sounding genuine also is so important. The tone of voice when she showed her empathy in this particular example that we're sharing here, I think is very nice. You mentioned earlier about the statistic for asking questions, and again, those open-ended questions, and we're so thankful for those because they do create a dialogue versus me reading through a list of items that need to be taken care of. It's almost clinical in some of the calls that we listen to versus asking meaningful questions and creating that dialogue. So here.
And who is the person that's passing?
So it's actually a great aunt of mine. Her name is Bertha.
Your great aunt,
Yes.
Bertha. And where is she now?
Well, so she's at home. She's still being cared for by family, and then like hospice comes in and nurses come in.
Well, to begin, do you have specific questions that I can answer for you at this time before we go through the process together here?
And what is this wondering, like, about cremation costs?
Are you looking to have a visitation where family and friends can come and visit with all of you and pay respects to Bertha?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you plan on having a funeral ceremony either here in the funeral home or at a church or place of worship?
Getting the person thinking, I think, is so asking those open questions, really create a better experience here. For those of my friends in death care, when she mentioned cremation, he did not lead right into price. And I'm thankful for that in this particular example. He talks about services. Okay, he asked her even before we get started. So respecting her wishes versus just starting to read something. So giving her either or options even as well. People don't know about these experiences when they lose a loved one, not like those of us in the profession that deal with it every day. So very thankful for that. Open-ended versus closed-ended. Open-ended questions elicit a response that's not yes or no. That's what a closed-ended question does. Thank you for listening. It's so important to listen and get the information. And by having those conversations and open-ended questions, it will force you to listen. And if we remember back at the beginning, our video there, she had a notepad available to her. I know we even sometimes have software and technical ways of getting that information as well. So having that notepad is helpful. And I don't know about you, but us gray hairs are very forgiving sometimes. So having that is helpful. I always have my notepad nearby. Okay. And we are finding this to be truly a thankworthy call and creating good questions. Okay. So before we wrap, I do have something that's cringeworthy that I want to share. And I wouldn't get away without having something, right? However, whenever we say thank you, we tend to have folks say, well, no, thank you. A thank you sometimes gets a thank you. When we say or we receive a thank you, a lot of times I hear people say, no problem. And that can rub people the wrong way. So I have a really fun video that I remember and I think about all the time from CBS Sunday Morning. We have shortened this a little bit, but it's a video about that no problem response to the word thank you.
Only say no problem when there is a reasonable expectation that the task you are performing might be problematic, i.e., thank you for stopping your car in the rain to help me change a flat tire. No problem. Appropriate. Thank you for lending me $10,000 to stop the bank from foreclosing on my house. No problem. Gracious. Thank you for giving me your kidney. No problem. Classy. That's what no problem is for. It's a way of telling someone you've gone out of your way to help, not to feel indebted. But if you work in a donut shop and a customer thanks you for selling him a coffee, don't say no problem. He's paying for the coffee. Just say, you're welcome. Try it. Thank you. You're welcome. Is that so burdensome? And look at the bright side. All of us old people will be dead soon. And then everybody born after 1980 can say no problem to each other for the rest of their lives. Just hold off. All right? You're welcome.
I think that's so funny. I'm in agreement with him, and he kind of started off and that the young folks are saying these things these days. And I really want to have folks, when you do get that thank you at an end of the call, or when a client says thank you on the phone, unless there truly was a problem that you helped to alleviate, saying you're welcome. Simple response. So wrapping up our thankworthy calls. Thank you for being creative, team, and finding ways to be your own person and being gracious. So think of those creative ways. And I'd like to have a little bit of a homework assignment. Go back to that top 10 and think about it when you go to answer the phone the next time and thank someone just beyond the words thank and you. Thanking people for their empathy. We are so grateful ourselves. So being empathetic and showing empathy is a way to truly create a thankworthy call. And thank you for asking questions. So thankful when we hear calls that are not just reading off information, not necessarily diving in and helping the customer, but very, very thankful when those questions happen. Okay. So going into the holiday season, and we want to talk a little bit about the fact that we have calls, and not necessarily good ones, that it's the gift that keeps on giving. So we're looking to have a lot of fun, and I can't believe it'll be our 14th. Wow, Cringeworthy Calls. So we hope you can join us. It will be, Thursday, December 16th at 2 p.m. And you can register or join us online, live on Facebook. Again, it's deadringers.co/cringeworthy. And as always, if you have things that you would like to share, love to hear your feedback. Our email is info@deadringers.co. You can always call and leave us a message, and we'll do our best to get back as quickly as possible. And thank you. No problem. I just had to go there. Sorry. So again, we are always thankful to have you sit in on our live webinars, and we will see you next month. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.